Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at the U.S. intervention in Venezuela, which kicked off on January 3rd.
And we're going past the official headlines.
Exactly. The public narrative is all about, democracy and counter-narcotics. But our sources suggest there's a much starker motive here.
An almost existential one.
It's about preserving American economic viability. So, okay, let's unpack this. Our mission for this deep dive is to pull out the three big geoeconomic objectives: forced redollarization, disrupting this axis of evasion, and the collateralization of sovereign debt.
I think we have to start with the U.S. fiscal picture because it really sets the stage.
It's the ticking clock, really.
It is. The most shocking number from the source material is this. Fiscal year 2025, the net interest on U.S. debt hit $970 billion.
Which is just a staggering number.
But it is. And for the first time ever, that number was bigger than the entire national defense budget, which was $917 billion. We're spending more to service the debt than to defend the country. So how did it get that bad that fast? Well, it's tied to the system that financed all that debt in the first place.
You're talking about the petrodollar.
Exactly. It goes back to that 1974 deal between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. It created what economists call the exorbitant privilege.
Because everyone had to buy oil in dollars.
Right. So
Yeah.
every country needed to hold dollars, which created this huge artificial demand for U.S. Treasury bonds. It's how we financed everything for decades.
And that system is now fracturing because of a new piece of financial tech called Project Enbridge.
And this isn't just a threat. It's a direct challenge to the whole system of U.S. financial power.
So what is it exactly?
Well, Enbridge is a multi-central bank digital currency platform. In simple terms, it lets central banks pay each other instantly, peer-to-peer, completely bypassing the SWIFT system.
Which means it bypasses U.S. sanctions.
It makes them practically useless. And the real red flag, the thing that triggered all this, wasn't just the tech. It was who joined.
Saudi Arabia.
The Saudi Central Bank joined Enbridge in 2024. That was a direct shot at the heart of that 1974 petrodollar deal.
Okay, so the financial coercion tools are getting weaker. That means the U.S. has to pivot to, what, physical assets?
Precisely. And that brings us to Venezuela. The prize there is 303 billion barrels of oil.
The largest proven reserves on the planet. But it's not just the amount, is it? It's the type of oil.
It's the chemistry. It's almost all extra heavy crude from the Orinoco Belt. And the thing is, our Gulf Coast refineries, they spent billions over decades building these massive complex facilities specifically to process that kind of heavy crude.
So it's a perfect match for our industrial infrastructure.
It's not just a match, it's a necessity. Getting that crude from anywhere else is way more expensive and inefficient.
Meanwhile, this axis of evasion, as the sources call it, was already making moves, China specifically.
Right. They were using their quote-unquote ghost fleet.
Tankers that switch off their transponders to go dark.
And they were shipping that Venezuelan oil to what are called teapot refineries in China. And importantly, those sales were being settled in non-dollar assets.
Like the ECNY, their digital currency, or even crypto, like USDT.
That was the financial threat. But then came the physical one. The real red line was crossed when a Chinese company, CCRC, installed an oil rig, the Alula Right, in Lake Maracaibo.
A physical Chinese foothold.
In America's backyard. That couldn't be ignored.
So when you connect all these dots, the invasion starts to look less like a choice and more like a structural necessity. The U.S. couldn't export its way out of the debt crisis. The industrial base is too hollowed out.
And you don't have the 30 years it would take to rebuild it. The debt clock is ticking too fast.
So seizing developed assets was the only shortcut left on the table.
The only viable one, according to these documents.
So to bring it all home, what does this actually mean? The seizure of 303 billion barrels of oil is a direct attempt to physically backstop U.S. sovereign debt.
And to force the dollar back into the system. By controlling that specific crude oil supply, Washington can demand that it only be sold in U.S. dollars. It's forced redollarization.
Which leads to a really provocative final thought.
It does. This action fundamentally changes what the dollar is. It's no longer just a currency of trust or privilege.
It's now a currency of coercion.
Exactly. And its long-term survival now depends entirely on the success of this occupation and whether the dollar can withstand the global backlash that's inevitably coming. Something for you to think about as you watch this all unfold.